pjnet.tv. It is Thursday night. It is 9 p.m. on the East Coast, and it is time. Our bumper is running. We are recording. We are also streaming on 9 social media profile destinations. We have a background running. We have a guest waiting, and we have a chat room waiting as well. We'll switch to Studio 8 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, welcome back. Yes, indeed. Welcome back to pjnet.tv. I can't tell you how glad I am to be here. I say that every night, but I actually mean it. Those of you who were here last night, well, we had problems. And a problem. Microphone. There we go. Okay, we're up. All right. Sorry about that. I'm so nervous. Things are held together here with bubble gum and baling wire at the moment. Anyway, we have a brand new guest, first time ever, waiting in our green room and getting pretty bored listening to all the chat. And many of you may already know Penny Cooke, but she is with us. She is standing by and waiting her turn, and let's just hope everything stays in place. Penny, thanks for joining us tonight on pjnet.tv. Been a long time coming. How have we avoided each other this long?
I don't know. I see you on Facebook, and now I know who you are.
Yeah, and you all, you'd see that and say, I want to be on that someday.
Here I am.
Penny, your ministry roots go way back, and you are obviously, as many of our guests are, you are a Christian author, writer, and so forth, but that has not always been the case, right?
Right.
Tell us how you got started.
I was an interior decorator. That's what I did, and of course, before that, I as a little girl, I was given a Bible, and I used to read it at night. My mom read hers at night before she went to sleep, and so I guess that was just the example, and nobody told me to read it. I just read it, and loved reading a lot of it, but Psalms particularly, and I think that's what gave me a passion for prayer, because Psalms are prayers and songs, and you read David just pouring his heart out to the Lord, and you learn that you can do that too, just raw emotion. And then, grew up and really committed my life to the Lord in my early 20s, and just always worked in women's ministry from that time on. Was always going to Bible studies, teaching Bible studies, and then, I got into decorating, and, that was my life for many years. And I left one job for something else that didn't work out. Meanwhile, the Lord led me into leading women's ministry at my church that I am currently at. And I did that for about 10 years. Still doing a little bit of decorating on the side, but then one thing led to another, and the Lord was always working, and led me into teaching a class on prayer to the women at my church. And long story short, that ended up to be a book.
Penny, so if I get it right, you started out professionally interior decorator. And so you're an interior decorator, but you had this little side thing. You did a little women's ministry, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
But then
then,
I ended up doing women's ministry more than the
right,
decorating.
the scales kind of tilted over here to over there. Was it a single acute event, or was it just a chronic over time transition?
It was a transition, and not even one that I planned. It just, the Lord just kept on moving me a little bit more and a little bit more until I finally realized, okay, I guess this is what he wants me to do now.
Well, when you decided that's what you wanted to do, or that's what the Lord wanted you to do, you didn't just tinker around. You actually headed up a women's ministry
I
at a
did.
church. How many
Right.
women were you working with?
Um, Probably, I mean, in our church, it's probably a few hundred at the time, but,
But only
you
the
know,
ones with problems need ministering to.
at events, depending on the event, it could be anywhere from 50 to 150.
Okay, I've like you I've been in men's ministry, not like you, but in a different venue, or the appropriate venue, and I became discouraged. But I have an idea that I have not uncorked. I'm not sure I've even told anybody about it. But I've been to many, 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 many men's ministry events. And they bring in, is this the same kind of formula that women use? You bring in a heavy from out of town, and they
Yeah.
give you the pep talk, and they stay in a hotel, and they got,
Right.
I've got an idea. I would like a woman to come talk to the men's ministry group.
I think that would be very wise. And in some churches, that's taboo, so it's
Well,
not done that much. But
well,
I think
fortunately,
you
yeah, the church, the
benefit
church,
from hearing from us.
yeah. So let me ask you something. What would you think if a women's ministry had a man come talk to them?
That wouldn't be anything out of the norm. We have a man talk to us every week in the pulpit.
Well,
So,
yeah, but
but if he was coming to give us a man's perspective on, being a
because
husband, or whatever, it would be beneficial.
there's some things I would like women to tell men, like, we don't get it, okay? We
Yeah,
don't get it,
yeah,
and I honestly don't think women do either. Between themselves, amongst themselves, they do get it.
yeah.
But I have some questions for God when I get to heaven, and He'll have plenty of time to answer them, and it may take a while. My first question is, what's up with the boll weevil? Okay, every animal in nature has some role or function. At least even mice are food for the hawks. Okay,
I
but the
want to
boll
know
weevil.
what the purpose of Florida palmetto bugs is.
Yeah. Let's not get. Yeah, I'm from Florida. Tell me, yeah, we have our mosquitoes. Well, mosquitoes are food for birds. Okay, but the boll weevil is totally worthless, as best I can tell. So I know God put him here for a reason. I'm just curious. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. But what function does the boll weevil perform in the big scheme of things? As soon as I get that answer, I'm going to say, now tell me about women.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you did this, but why? I, I don't think men get women, and I don't think women get men
No,
either.
we
And
never,
yet we're stuck with each other.
yeah, we never will. But I'll tell you what I hear or heard over the years, over and over, is that, and probably one of the number one things women wish their husbands would do is pray with them and lead devotions. And I know there are many that do, but there are many that don't. And
Well,
that's big.
I'm glad you shared that, Penny. But the sociologist or the psychologist in me has a couple of questions. That presumes that men pray, and that presumes that men have devotions.
Mm.
It sounds like you are assuming that men have their own prayer time and devotions on a regular basis. And I bet if you compared women to men, you would not see much parity there.
Well, I think if they were, and pardon the assumption, but I think if they were, they would be more apt to lead their wives and their family in devotion.
One of the questions I expect women to ask God when they get to heaven is they understand that God ordained the husband's role of leadership spiritually in the family. Some husbands, why would they be I think sometimes the wife would make the better quarterback, but that's not biblical.
I think sometimes they end up being the leader because, especially the spiritual leader, because the husband isn't doing it.
Exactly.
If you really want to go way back,
let's go way back.
Where was Adam when Eve handed him the apple?
He was right there with her.
Right.
Exactly.
Why wasn't he being a spiritual leader and stopping?
Well, and he didn't just.
The woman gets the bad rap.
Hey, you're winding my clock, Penny. Eve has gotten a bad rap, okay? Adam did not materialize out of thin air. Eve was approaching that tree. She didn't materialize in thin air in front of that tree. She walked toward it. Her gaze was on that fruit. Where was Adam? Right there. Right there. Now, hey, Adam. Hey, Eve, where are you going? Hey, whoa. No, he didn't do that.
Right.
He was typically, okay, he was, there's a word for it I won't use on the air. But then so they ate the fruit, okay. And then God comes to the garden, and who does God call for? Now, they were both guilty, right? Mm-hmm. Eve was guilty first, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I could argue that point theologically. I think Adam failed before Eve did. Adam let her do it.
Yeah.
But God called for Adam. And right. That, to me, is the defining moment that says that God is going, is obviously looking for, anyway. But I keep hearing this. And is it okay? Are you okay with the doctrine? Is this...
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's a little touchy. I will hear some, old timers say, well, the Bible says if a woman has a question, she should remain silent and ask her husband. You ever heard that one?
Oh, yeah.
What do you tell them?
Well, can the husband answer it?
That's pretty good. I have some questions about the question.
All the time, he probably can't.
I have some questions about the question. Now, this is not to deny or mitigate the truth of the statement, but that statement needs to be taken in the context. First of all, it presumes that the woman is married. Mm-hmm. A lot of women aren't.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So we can't just blanket paint with a broad brush here. It also presumes that the husband is a Christian. Mm-hmm. What if the husband is not a Christian? Should she ask his counsel and follow it? Come on. So, but that one gets what I would call not only misappropriated, I think it's malappropriated. I think that verse is cherry picked to keep women from expressing. God clearly has a place for women in ministry.
Right.
You are living proof of that. In your years of women's ministry, highest point, lowest point.
Oh, goodness.
I didn't prepare you for that one, did I? We don't script this, folks.
I used to lead a women's conference at our church, and when I would be so busy and so involved in it, and a little bit of anxiety. I mean, you know how it is. Even just with what you were doing tonight, is everything going to work? And when you're doing a weekend conference, there's a lot that can go wrong.
And people paid for it probably. They're expecting their money's worth, right?
Yeah. And, when it's over and you see what God did, those are the high moments. those are the high moments. It just was always amazing, and you just were amazed at the goodness of God and how he worked things out and who was blessed. And the low moments would have to be trying to get volunteers. That was the hardest
Good
problem.
answer. Penny, I was the disaster relief director for the Florida Baptist Association for 14 years. I feel your pain.
Anybody in ministry of any kind, every church encounters that.
What amazed me is the number of people that would sign up to be on the mailing list for the call out. So when you send out this email, it goes to hundreds of people. Yeah. And I start getting responses why they can't be there. I'm like, what? Really? I don't care why you can't be there. I just need to know who's coming. Okay, I don't need. It's volunteer. It's volunteer work. Okay, you're not obligated.
Because it's volunteer, a lot of people don't take it seriously. Like, you wouldn't not show up for work or, not call in or whatever. But I mean, we would go to set up for this conference, and people wouldn't show up. They'd make the doctor appointments that day. Like, you knew you were going to have to do this for a long time. Like, why'd you make a doctor appointment then?
Have you ever had the experience where somebody that you dealt with a long time ago that you kind of wrote them off, and you follow, and somehow years later turns out they're okay after all?
Yeah, you get to know them and find out maybe you misjudged them or whatever.
Now, while you're doing, you're the interior decorator with a part-time women's ministry that became a women's ministry with a part-time interior decorator. When did you wake up in the middle of the night with cold sweat and say, I got to write a book? Or was that a transition as well?
It was a transition as well, because I taught this Bible study at church. My new pastor was setting up a whole menu of classes, asked me if I wanted to do one for the women, and right away I knew I wanted to do it on prayer. And it was as though the Lord was downloading to me this acrostic for prayer. And it ended up to be the acrostic, and each letter of the acrostic for prayer coincides with an aspect of the Lord's Prayer and what he taught. And so I taught that class, and there was a woman in the class that was an author and was just starting an online magazine, and asked me if I would do it as articles for the magazine. And so I did that. Then she was encouraging me, you need to just write this as a Bible study. And, I was feeling that in my heart too. So that was just confirmation. And around that same time, a friend asked me if I wanted to go to a writer's conference, and I was just always wanted to go to one, always was interested in writing.
Which one did you go to?
Florida Christian Writers Conference. Okay. And I've been to Blue Ridge as well, but that's the one I've been to more often, of course, because it's closer. Mm-hmm. But anyway, long story short, the Lord just kept opening doors. I started writing articles and got in a couple of compilations, and eventually got the publisher to offer me a contract on this. So
you mentioned an acrostic, and I haven't seen anything more than what you see on the screen right now, the cover of the book. Let me guess, that formed the outline of the book, didn't it?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Can you give us the acrostic, or would that be too much of a spoiler?
No, that's fine. I'll just briefly give it to you. So it is an acrostic for prayer. As I said, each letter of the acrostic coincides with an aspect of the Lord's Prayer, because I feel like, we recite that so often, but I don't think, maybe the Lord didn't give it to us to recite necessarily. Nothing wrong with that, especially if you understand what you're saying. But I think he was teaching us the parts of prayer. So the P is for proactively pursue prayer. Jesus said, pray then like this. And to me, that's, okay, pray. You need to pray. need to be
intentionally.
proactive.
Yeah.
Intentional. Just like anything that you're going to get done in your day.
Right.
And
we all react with prayer, but that's not what he's seeking.
Which is, that's
fine too. Yeah.
Popcorn prayers throughout the day. That's great. That's how we pray without ceasing. But there's got to be a point where we actually pray a fervent prayer and include the parts of prayer that Jesus intended us to and taught us to. So be intentional, be proactive. The R is for remember his righteous deeds. Because if you look all through the Old Testament, God was constantly saying, remember my deeds, remember my commands, don't forget. And that coincides with the hallowed be thy name. When we remember who God is, we worship him. And that sets our heart right to remember who he is and to build our faith of what he's able to do. He's able to do exceedingly abundantly above all we ask or think. So
now, Penny, let me hold you. Let me just say, this is good, but we want people to get the book. So, and we've only got a minute left. So, that was tactful. Okay, A.
So the A is acknowledge sin and ask forgiveness. That's the forgive us our debts. Y is yielding to his will. Obviously, the thy will be done part. The E is enjoy his daily bread. And that's, of course, giving him our needs, but also he said he's our daily bread. He's the bread of life. So it's learning to enjoy him in his word. And then the R is, the second R is rest in him. And that's just trusting. Once we've done all the rest, we can rest and trust that he's got it all in control.
Yeah. When you said rest, rest is not really on my radar, but I'm so comforted in that scene right before, the night before Jesus was crucified. He's talking to his disciples, and he talks about abide. Abide. And that brings comfort to my spirit, just abide in me. Yeah. The branch without the leaves with the branch, blah, blah, blah. Because it's hard in today's world. I mean, it gets hectic, and I particularly struggle with relying on my own strength. I tend to go to God after I'm exhausted. I've tried everything, and it would be so much easier to enlist God at the beginning rather than after we break all of our toys and say, God, help me out. The book Pursuing Prayer, is this available now or upcoming?
No, it is available now. It's on Amazon.
Yeah, the link's in the chat room, folks. Sunbelt Girl's on it. So.
It is written as a Bible study. So if you're looking for a group Bible study or personal Bible study, it is written that way.
Now we are doing without some of our accolade, nice bells and whistles. Your website, where is that? That
is pennycookeauthor.com, and that's Cooke with an E, so it's PENNYCOOKE author.com.
All right. And do you do public speaking engagements?
I do.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Well, back when they did those things.
Yeah, I know, back when they did those things. Done a few things online.
Yeah, okay. Well, Penny, you are a prayer advocate. You are a prayer apologist, a prayer warrior. We need more like that, and it's been a pleasant conversation. Thank you for your ministry, and thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are a blessing to us, Penny. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Penny Cooke right here on pjnet.tv. Go to that website, pennycookeauthor.com, and find out more about... we only covered a few things. She's got a very interesting and comprehensive ministry that goes from, interior decorating. My wife watches those shows, and I have to leave the room when they come on. I don't get it. I blow fuses. But women, they do that. And anyway, folks, as fun as that was, it's not over. At the bottom of the hour, in just a few moments, J.D. Winninger will be with us, as he is every Thursday, and he's going to take us on a tour around the Cross W Ranch, where he's the CEO. but he calls himself the steward of it. He's just the caretaker of it. And we always enjoy JD, and he'll be here in just a few minutes. Folks, before we come back or on my way out, I would ask you to ask yourself two very important questions. First, what is the boldest thing that you've ever done for Jesus Christ? Second, how long ago was that? The challenge is to never be satisfied with either answer.